Hello, everybody, and welcome to the tier list. We've got a great episode here for you tonight. Today, I'm Mangan, and today I'm joined by Collins.
How you doing, guys? Excited for this one?
Ritson.
Yeah, so excited.
And a very special guest today. We have Jacob Billerton from local band The Vedetts. Jacob, it's great to have you on today.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm excited to talk about one of my favourite topics, movies, and then not alone my favourite genre, horror films. So.
Yeah, we're looking at horror films. We might as well get you on the tiers right now. We have gruesomely brilliant, horrifying, a decent time, boring, and my personal favourite, not even Paddy would be scared by this. I did appreciate Collins for that because Paddy isn't the best. I think he's seen like 2 horror films, Insidious and It.
He wanted to do this tier list purely because we're having Jacob on. Jacob's a friend of ours, and but he couldn't. He just couldn't do it because he hadn't watched enough horror films because he really doesn't like them, which is fair enough. But he originally wanted to still be part of it in that he'd still do all the recording. He'd just be in the call muted. So I think, well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to make fun of you.
You're really exposing Paddy in this without the
Paddy
He's gonna want words.
We are doing him a bit dirty here, but
Collins is.
No, it's fair enough. Horror films aren't for everyone.
He just doesn't like the spooky. He just doesn't like the spooky films.
Does not like the spooky film.
Yeah.
Right. So, without any further ado, let us get on the way, and we'll start with our special guest, Jacob. What do you have for us?
Fantastic. So I'm going to start off with this evening, boys, an absolute stone cold classic. I'm going to start with 1973's The Exorcist.
Right.
Directed by William Friedkin and written by William Peter Blatty based off his novel. It is one of my favourite films of all time. And it sort of shows that horror films aren't sort of just about being scary. Like, you've got to have like a good story to kind of underarch that terror and those characters that you can relate to. So when shit does finally go down, you're like even that more invested into it. So I just want to, what are your guys' experiences with this film? Have people seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. I love Max von Sydow's performance in it. It's obviously probably the most well-known horror film of all time.
Yeah, definitely. With the Max von Sydow thing, did you know that like when I first watched it, I just thought he was like an old guy like in it, but he was only like 35 when they were making it.
Yeah,
like, the old person makeup's like so good, and you don't even like you just think he's old.
I mean, he's a cracking actor anyway. I loved his work. Rest in peace, obviously. But like this, the entire film was something mental. Yeah, I'd never really been exposed to horror before I watched my top pick, which we'll get onto later. But The Exorcist is something completely different and eerie about it. It's one of the highest grossing horror films of all time, isn't it?
Yeah, because I don't think it costs that much to make. But what I like about it is it kind of like explores the kind of real life kind of thing. So it's got stuff about doubt and uncertainty and like the whole unknowingness of just existence as like in general, but it grounds that in this story of just a mother trying to do what's like right for her daughter. And I sort of that relationship between the mother and the daughter is the thing that like is always there and keeps it grounded. So when like the really mad stuff does happen, you've still got like, oh my god, it's like a little girl that's being like absolutely done in by this demon.
Yeah, and it's obviously really important that because, like you say, the entire film basically builds up to the actual exorcism scene, which I think is probably the scene everyone knows about of this film, compared to all the others. But
yeah. So that build up is brilliant. I think there's a lot of stuff that like, especially because it's quite a long film. I don't think people like realize it's like just over 2 hours long. But it like that build up before you get like you sort of spend time with them, you sort of build that relationship sort of with them. And I think the performances like from Linda Blair as Reagan. And then as Ellen Burstyn, especially as the mum, she's just like, it's like one of my favourite performances of all time. I know I'll talk about that more in one of my picks later on about mothers in horror films. But I'll touch a wee bit on the director, like William Friedkin in this. He was before this, he was more sort of a director guy, and William Peter Blatty was the only guy that he wanted to direct it because he felt that he could bring like a sense of realism to the thing. Also, he's like an absolute nutbag, William Friedkin. Like, he used to like slap actors on set. He used to fire guns on set. For the whole film in this, he kept the set like below zero, so you could for the Exorcist scene, so you could see all the breath and stuff, to try and give a sort of few things like that. And that scene where the priest is given the final rites on, like, he like slapped the priest who wasn't even an actor beforehand, and you can see his hand like shaking throughout the whole thing. And I just think you couldn't get away with doing all that now. But I think it definitely does add something to his direction.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, I think some of the most like memorable parts of it for me are Reagan throwing up violently as when she's like shouting curse words at her mother, how she's a whore and everything, and it's one of those that really, it still freaks me out today, really.
Yeah, because when I think they did like a re-release of it in like 2002 or whatever, and because it's quite as I say, came out in 1973, so like obviously like times have changed for what we find scary anymore, but and some of it is like still pretty tame on what sort of stuff that we see sort of these days, but there's still a lot of stuff in it that's like genuinely like so grim, like the masturbation with the crucifix scene in it is just like still truly harrowing.
Yeah.
Oh, when all the blood is gushing out, it makes you feel sick, and that is the epitome of a great horror.
We still haven't touched on one thing, and that's the score of the film.
Oh yeah, Collins, if you want to say a bit on that, yeah.
Well, it's to me, it's probably one of the most iconic, famous, and legendary scores of it. Just of the simplicity. It's up there with Halloween's for me.
Yeah, it's got that sort of similar vibe, like that the tubular bells, is the Mike Oldfield thing. Yeah, it's got that sort of similar vibe for like the John Carpenter stuff. But yeah, it is probably the most iconic music things, and I think all of these sort of things together, the performances, the direction, the sort of the writing, it all encompasses me. And for me, The Exorcist is gruesomely brilliant.
I think we're all going to agree with that.
I do think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a classic, and I'm just looking at some of the reviews here because I've not actually watched it. Not because I wouldn't watch it. I'm not like Paddy.
He's too scared. He doesn't like spooky.
No.
Do I need to change the tier?
No. I'm not like Paddy. I would watch
protest
it.
Too much.
No, but it's got an 8 out of 10 on IMDb, an average rating of 8.1 on Rotten Tomatoes. So, for a horror film, that's pretty damn good. And yeah, I've got nothing really else to add to what you guys have said, partly due to the fact I've not watched the film, which doesn't exactly help talking about it.
I think it would be doing a disservice, not just to horror films, but to film in general, to put this anywhere below gruesomely brilliant, personally.
Yeah, I've put it there.
I'd say definitely going in gruesomely brilliant. Also, just one. So I watched, because I rewatched this again recently, and I've got my notes from when I was like watching it, and I just got written 1970s medicine ... scary. Just I think just like the scenes where she's getting all the tests done on it, and then like all just the old 70s like medical machines are just like terrifying.
Right, kicked off to an absolute banger. Collins, you next.
I think we've went from one of the films known for being the most scary and gruesome of them, something that you definitely wouldn't have your kids do. I'm going to take it to the other end of the spectrum. We're going to go into what could be seen as the modern day introduction to horror for people in scary stories to tell at the dark. Now, this film has one major thing holding it back, and that's the fact that it is designed to get teenagers interested into horror, which means that its kills are not memorable in any way. But for what it is, I think it's fine. We'll quickly go through the plot. Basically, you have a group of friends who go to an old abandoned house. Classic. They find a book that inside they find a number of stories. They take the book home, and they find that these stories start being written by themselves with no one knowing how it's happening through a ghost. while these stories are being written, they're still happening they're happening in real time to the victims that the stories are writing about, and that's kind of a really good contrast. It works for some of them. The Scarecrow one I find quite well done in there, because I think that also helps that it was the first one. So, but that you've got all the characters thinking what's going on as they read on this story that's being written at the same time. As you cut towards the bully, who's just going home until he finds a Scarecrow and eventually faces his fate.
Yeah, for me, the Scarecrow one I think is probably the best one. And I did enjoy the Spot one as well, where she's got
I think the Scarecrow is the most memorable part, and that's one I'd disagree with you rather about the kills not being like scary. And that I think, especially if you try and get youngsters involved in the idea of horror, because let's be honest, horror's taken a bit of a battering in the past few years. That's a good way to try and get people back into it.
Yeah, no. This is, like I said, this is an introduction to horror movies. I think what is it? I know it's rated PG-13 in America, but
I think it's a 15. I think it's a 15 over here.
It's a 15 over here.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, we all win.
This movie does nothing to deserve a 15. Does it swear a few too many times?
It might say fuck twice, and you can only say it once.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes, just the director of this he's Norwegian, so forgive the pronunciation. Andre Overdal.
Yeah, it's something like that. Although most people prefer to call him, when it comes to this film, as not Guillermo del Toro.
Well, that's what I was going to touch on, because when I first heard about this, I saw the trailer for it, and it was like Guillermo del Toro presents, and I was like, boys, I'm invested. I'm involved. And then I had a look on the IMDb once, seeing the trailer, sort of like trying to get excited for it. And then it said produced by, and I was like, oh, for God's sake. But the director, he's done some really good things in the past. He did the Norwegian found footage film Troll Hunter, which is really good.
I love Troll Hunter.
Yeah, and he did a film that came out a few years ago called The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which is like a weird sort of quite low budget horror film that I do kind of recommend, because that's quite gory in the sense of this. But my main thing of it is just, from what obviously I'm like, I watch a lot of horror films, so I think I'm probably not what this is kind of the audience for, but I do find it a bit tame for what I want.
Yeah. I think it's ruined by its CGI a bit, because I watched the film obviously, and I also watched Dead Meat, which is a great YouTube channel to like run it down, and you see some of the costumes they make for it, and then they basically do them over in CGI, which I think cheapens it a bit. And which one's the one that I can't remember the creature, but they're in the hospital, and every time he turns the corner,
the one where they hugged them to death.
Yeah, and he turns around and it comes closer and closer. That was a really good costume, made cheapened by its CGI. Don't know what you guys think about that. Like,
that's because like you said, some of the practical stuff I think is quite good, but like I said, a lot of studios just sort of, I do think people don't sort of enjoy that. Like, they like sort of more the CGI stuff. I don't think it's awful. Like, I do think it is quite decent. Like, rewatching it, there's nothing that stood out to me as being like a bad effect shot. So I think a lot of it does work. But like I said, for me, I wouldn't say it was. I had fun. There was never points where I was kind of like bored through it. But for me, it just doesn't push the boundaries of what the genre like can do. So it's a very middling film for me.
Ritson, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I guess if it's a kind of an introduction to like the younger generation into horror, then it's probably never going to be that gruesome. Maybe this is the kind of thing that we could like send to Paddy to watch, to get him into this kind of stuff.
Yeah, to be fair, I think he might do this.
He might be able to cope.
Might get a bit spooked out by
you might have to hold his hand. You might have to hold his hand at some point just to say that they're not real.
Well, I'll leave that to Collins, that part. Yeah, no, I hadn't even heard of this film before you guys suggested it, let alone watched it. So I'm not exactly sure what I can say, but the reviews are very average for it. So yeah, but I guess, as I say, I guess it'd be quite harsh to put it really low because of as I think it was Collins who originally said, it's like more of an introduction to younger people to get into this kind of genre. So
Yeah, that's true, and it's generally like a pretty fun time. I don't think I was bored. So it's always good to see Dean Norris, Hank from Breaking Bad in things. So that's always nice. That's always nice to see. But like I've just brought up the poster, and at the top of it says like it's Guillermo del Toro's name in like huge big letters. Like the director of it's like not even on it, and then it says from visionary producer. How does one be a visionary producer from a guy who's got a lot of money? Mental.
To me, I was always going to put it decent time. It's one of those where it'd be unfair to put it anywhere else.
I think so. Because I wouldn't call it boring, and then it doesn't push it for me. So I'd do a decent time.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's a decent starter for anyone who wants to get into the horror franchise, and it's a good introduction. Yeah, a decent time for me.
All right, then. Britson, do you want to go on?
Yeah, onto my pick, yeah. Let's talk about something that had a lot of hype and a lot of people watching it, but maybe didn't live up to the expectations. Let's talk about Bird Box, right?
I was going to say, that's all your films.
Yeah.
Apart from two.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I can see maybe why. Bird Box had like an interesting concept of, the whole, if you look at it, you die. And the way it was kind of introduced with some woman like smashing her head against the glass in the hospital. That was a good introduction of, okay, the world's about to descend into chaos, but we don't know why. It was very, it was unusual because someone randomly, smashing their head against glass. It was entertaining. And then obviously there's the car crash where the main character conveniently turns around just as it shows up to take over and possess her friend, or was it a sister? I don't even know. But anyway, and she's that irrelevant to the plot. And then they crash, and then she somehow escapes. I feel like we all know that this is a big disappointment of a film. It's not that bad. Like I don't think I wasn't like not entertained by it, but I feel like they could have done a lot more with it as well. I don't know what you guys think.
First of all, put some respect on Sarah Paulson's name.
What?
Irrelevant to the plot. She's a cracking actress.
No, the point is, Mangan, she is absolutely wasted in this film.
Yeah, she is.
She really is, but I still want to credit for this.
I didn't say there's anything wrong with the actress. It was the character I was on about.
I'd rather have Sarah Paulson as the main character in this movie than Sandra Bullock.
That is really true. Might come off as harsh, but there is no lie.
Am I the only one who doesn't like flashback narratives?
Oh, I was going to bring that up. Yeah, I don't think the narrative structure of the film works that well,
especially for a horror film.
No, because it just shows that like her with her kids, boy and girl.
Boy and girl.
It just shows that
boy and girl.
It's pretty clear from those shots that everyone is gonna die.
Yeah,
all of them. So it's like, and then you flash forward. It's like, well, I'm not really left in suspense here. I'm just like, well, how is he gonna die? I mean, is he gonna get murdered by one of these crazies, or is he gonna end up looking at it? Which one's it gonna be? So yeah, it does take it away. Also, something about the ending that was supposed to happen that was kind of kept out. So when they reached that little society of blind people,
the Blind People Society.
Blind people.
Ridiculous.
What was supposed to happen is, in order to be like safe from this demon, they'd have to like gouge their own eyes out.
Oh, I would have so much rather that happen.
And come here, boy.
Come
on, let me scoop your eyes out with this spoon like in Utopia.
I just thought, well, I know you know, maybe it's a bit gruesome, but it's a horror film at the end of the day. And, you know, it's like you don't see this demon like at all through the film. So at least have, you know, it would have been a, you know, very like standout end of like, oh my God, they have to do something horrific. But at the end, like, of the day, it's still a happy ending because they survive and they're going to survive because they can't see anymore. And they just
Yeah.
have to this new life. So even though it's horrific, it's still good.
Yeah,
They
I think that would have put it up 1 point for me. Yeah, I'm really not a huge fan of this film like, at all.
Yeah.
Um, the sort of suicide-y thing it gets boring after like the first sort of 5 minutes, and then it just kind of becomes a bit ridiculous. Like that guy that sort of dies by falling off the chair and whacking his head is just like
I hate the inconsistency of this film as well.
boring.
So what determines if someone's going to become an insane
Oh
cult
yeah,
member
yeah.
or
Have
if
you
they're
got?
going to kill themselves?
It's
That's
like
never explained.
no, it's like you've got to be crazy like already maybe.
No, I think it's something to do with like if they have like a mental health diagnosis, like that's when
Yeah, because they have like the
like,
thing of like they sit here on the radio. There's like people have escaped from like an insane asylum or something like that.
yeah.
But,
So I think it's to do with if you have like a diagnosed mental health issue, like schizophrenia or whatever, then you're sound. I mean, you're not sound because you have schizophrenia.
Not sound you
But-
become an insane.
But you're not going to
cult
kill
member.
yourself, although you know you've got mental health issues at the same time. So that can happen anyway in an apocalyptic world where nothing is good anymore and it is complete destruction. But anyway, yeah, no, they could have done so many things different. Firstly, we never saw it, and I kind of get like maybe that could have been a good thing that we never saw the monster. Oh, also, they never even explained it apart from like 2 minutes. They read this book and said, "Oh yeah, this demon. If you look at it, you kill yourself." All right, moving on to the next bit of the plot. And then
yeah,
they
that's
never
like
mention it again. There's no explanation
yeah.
of what it is.
One of
where it's
one of the
came from.
things that I hate the most about this is just kind of the lack of thing for like what's actually the issue. And apparently that's something the thing that people like about it. And I just think it's just really lazy, like
Yeah,
not
it's so lazy.
given like anything to kind of sort of explain or given like what they look like. And again, as a kind of meant to like this big sort of that H.P. Lovecraft kind of like cosmic horror where it's like impossible to kind of explain. But also that I just think it's just really lazy and just boring.
Yeah.
And another thing for me, it's such an average film that has such a good cast. So like I said, it's got Sandra Bullock in, it's got Sarah Paulson, John Malkovich, B.D. Wong, Trevante Rhodes, who is literally an Oscar winner, and it does nothing with them really.
Also, Machine Gun Kelly. Let's not forget.
Oh my
Machine
God,
Gun
I
Kelly.
forgot. I just feel like this movie had potential to actually be really great, and it is why it is so disappointing. Is if they just firstly not done that whole narrative structure of we're just going to flash forward and basically tell you that everyone else is going to die apart from you know the woman and boy and girl. Yeah, everyone else is going to die. Yeah, that's awful. Then the whole gouge the eyes thing that would have been like a big gruesome part to end the film. Not seeing the monster, not knowing what it is, it's just it's disappointment and kind of boring, as you said.
Yeah, I think so. Right, I think we should rank it there. Jacob.
Yes, definitely go. Just a quick one. It is directed by Suzanne Bier, and it's always nice to see women directing horror films because you don't see it very often. But she didn't do a very good job, so better work next time, Suzanne. But for me, it's boring. Garino. It is. Yeah. Definitely not going to be watching it again.
Yeah, boring for me as well. It's not a bad film. It's just boring.
There's not really else to say. It is boring. There we go. So, what am I going to go on? I think if we're going to talk about horror films, we're going to take a horror film that takes a little bit of everything from other horror films. I am going to talk about Cabin in the Woods. Now, I enjoy it for its creatures, what it does. I enjoy the premise of it's actually a secret society that's controlling people's lives through the scope of horror movies. I enjoy what it takes out. So it has zombies similar to Night of the Living Dead. Dawn of the Dead, sorry, I'm thinking of. It has The Cabin, which is a near carbon copy of Evil Dead.
If you now tell me that it has woods,
it does have.
It's got woods.
It's got. I'd call it more a forest, but there we go.
True.
And I enjoy it, but the more I watch it, the less I feel about it. And you could say that about any film, really. But there's other horrors that I think it's still fresh for me. But I think this cheapens. I mean, it's got Chris Hemsworth before he became. No, it was filmed before he became famous, but at that point he became Thor, wasn't he? He was already Thor.
He was already Thor.
Yeah, when it was released. But like I said, it's a horror comedy, which you could say cheapens it a bit, but I do enjoy like the casual office settings. Like, don't know what you guys think.
I like horror comedies. Evil Dead, or just Ash versus Evil Dead to go further into that is one of my favorite TV shows, and that's a horror comedy. But Cabin in the Woods, I think I actually really enjoy it because it takes every cliche and concept of the horror movie genre and just says, yeah, but it's all because of this. So it's why you see it every time. It's because they're going for all reliable to try and make the sacrifice of the gods. And I actually felt bad for the characters. I actually got quite invested in them. Like Jules, Jules is the person who they decree is going to be the slutty bimbo of the ritual. And I actually felt really bad for her because like they talk at the start of the film, like they talk about how she had like a really good GPA. She was doing quite well in college, and they were going, oh, I've done a really good job. She's now getting D's. Like, I actually, quite feel bad for her.
As a massive fan of the horror genre, I really love this film quite a lot. I just love the premise of it, that they have to appease these sort of elder world gods that by doing these rituals sort of all the time. I love what Mangan was touching on with like The Office kind of the comedy thing with Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford is like those two like controllers of the whole thing.
They have such a good chemistry as well.
Yeah, they are.
The surrealness as well of like the betting call they've got for how they're going to die.
And he really wants the merman, and he never gets. But what was I going to say? Yeah, because it's like takes and sort of flips it on his head. And I think Mangan maybe it does kind of lose steam, but I think I've watched it a few times and have enjoyed it. But I remember the first time because it doesn't reveal like anything about that and I remember going to see it completely blind, like not knowing, and just the thing of like it completely flipping the genre like on his head, I just think is so brilliant. And it's the thing that Joss Whedon, who wrote it along with Drew Goddard, who directed it, I think that's something that they do with a lot of things, and I just think it is properly brilliant. I love that when they pick what like the demon thing that's gonna like kill them, and everyone's like really really bored because it's like just a boring like zombie torture family that you see in like every film, but it like works because everyone's bored of that anyway, because everyone like shrugs their shoulders in the office because they're really bored that they didn't pick like a fun one. I just love all the things like that.
I mean, I think my favorite death in it isn't even like horror related. It's Chris Hemsworth death because he's such a macho man. He's gonna cross the ravine with his motorbike and he just smashes into the shield wall.
It's slightly cheapened for me with the fact that they have the bird fly into it before when they're first driving.
I
reckon if you remove that death becomes fantastic and even better because it's unexpected. It's like, oh, okay, so he's gonna go into the invisible force field. But touching on this film, my favorite part is probably just the last act itself, where all the monsters get free.
Yeah, it is just brilliant, just so gory, just so fantastic.
The unicorn skewering.
Oh my god!
Just the merman biting into him and all the blood squirting out the back.
Doesn't he kill the person who really wanted?
He really wanted the merman, and he's like, oh come on, yeah. But also, round of applause for a cracking cameo by Sigourney Weaver at the end. Just can't love a bit of Sigourney Weaver in my films. And I do think it has a really good ending where she decides that no, she's not going to thing, and then you get the big hand coming out of the thing.
Yeah.
Literally
Cracking
destroyed the
ending.
entire world for not being made in the Virgin. The Stoner and the Virgin, sorry.
Yeah, but honestly, yeah, I generally really like this film because, as I said, as a fan of the horror genre, I think it both is a love letter to it and kind of a pastiche of it at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's all sort of things where they like have they say, oh, we should stick together, and then they release like the gas to make them like stupid. And they say, oh no, we should actually split up.
Yeah. It's like what Scary Movie wishes it was.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent way to put it, Colin.
Ritson, what are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, not much to add. Again, you said about how much you like the film, Jacob. The reviews back it up. Metacritic, IMDb. I think I said that a bit wrong. And Rotten Tomatoes, they all rate it incredibly highly. For horror film, because they are usually rated quite low in comparison to other genres of film. It's an interesting like concept and story that you've explained and went through. But I'm probably going to back out of the voting, even though it's not going to make any difference. I don't think.
Oh dear. Well, should we vote now then?
All right. To me, I'd put it horrifying.
Okay.
Oh,
Jacob.
yeah. I think we'll go. Yeah, horrifying.
Were you debating top tier there?
No, I wouldn't say it was top tier. I would, yeah. Let's go with horrifying.
I think it's very good, but at the end of the day, it's mostly a parody, and you can't have a parody be like the epitome of a genre.
It's true. Also, what Mangan was saying. I mean, I don't find it doesn't really do that for me, but maybe it does kind of lose its sort of thing a bit once you've seen it once.
Yeah, that's why I was going to put a decent time. It might have been a bit harsh, but come at me.
I'll get Drew Goddard's going to come at you.
He better.
Right. So that goes back to you, Jacob. What's your next topic?
Okay. So, actually, what I'll do is I'll continue on from my previous, the amazing, wonderful film that is The Exorcist, and we cut to 4 years later. It's 1977, and John Borman releases Exorcist 2, The Heretic.
I do like that. Yeah.
This movie is absolutely butt fucking insane. It takes all the subtlety and like nuance of the original and just slings it out the window. I'll get the things I do like. I'll get them out the way first. So I like the score. It's an Ennio Morricone score that's really good. Also, and the best thing about it is it does have a really good trailer. So I'd encourage everyone to not watch this film, but to watch the trailer on YouTube because the trailer's really good.
So you've compared it to Suicide Squad?
yeah, it's an amazing trailer. I'd say the Suicide one with Bohemian Rhapsody was good as well. Yeah. But I also appreciate a good swing and a miss for me. So I appreciate people taking a risk and just doing it completely rather than doing something similar. So I appreciate that they didn't just do like another exorcism. I appreciate that they kind of went in a different direction and failed miserably. But I appreciate the effort. Yeah, it only features Linda Blair and Max von Sydow, the only people who sort of come back. Linda Blair's not as good as she is in the original, even though she's older. There's this it's a really weird plot with like a psychiatrist and people going into people's dreams. Most of it's set in like this weird Star Trek set that's like a hexagon room. That's like a psychiatrist office, and there's like a machine that transports you into people's heads. It completely ruins the sort of scariness of the original by naming the demon Pazuzu, which is the least scary name. The least scary name ever. Like, why would you just I know, here's let's call the demon Pazuzu.
They definitely opened the Bible up on a random page and thought, oh, it's a demon called Pazuzu? Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, and then like just the subtlety of like the original one where it doesn't have a name. I know you kind of see like there's that shot where like Max von Sydow sees like the statue of it, and it's sort of like, and you know that's going to be the villain of the whole thing. And I was just like, oh yeah, it's this thing called Pazuzu. There's like this weird subplot with Max von Sydow like in Africa with James Earl Jones, and he's like a tiger demon. It's basically, I wouldn't even call it a horror film. It's more a science fiction film
Yeah.
than it is anything else. And yeah, the editing's awful. It makes literally zero sense. I mean, this like I appreciate some of the stuff they have with the Pope, and they kind of sort of touch on Catholic hierarchy a bit more with like how exorcisms are actually done, investigations and stuff like that. But that's the only interesting thing in it. I watched it after, so I did like a double bill the other night where I watched The Exorcist and then watched this, and I think I must have been quite drunk when I was watching this, because I've got like "what the fuck is going on" written about 5 times. Also, heart fingering is another sentence that I've got down.
Oh yeah, you remember that.
Yeah. I have one question about this film. If you're going to do something that's grounded in reality, despite being about a demon possessing a small child, why in the sequel do you give the child superpowers?
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
Why anything for the sequel?
Lads, usually you get at least one decent sequel towards a horror film before it goes off the deep end. We'll get onto that later on with some of the other.
Oh yes, we will.
But wow! I mean, just talk about a fall from grace for The Exorcist. I mean, it's often called one of the worst films of all time. This film, and it earns every bit of its reputation.
I'm looking at the reviews. Oh my god! I've never seen scores so low.
I'm not gonna lie. It makes me laugh every time I hear Pazuzu.
Pazuzu, man.
It's absolutely nonsensical. It makes like John Borman, the director. I think he'd come off doing Deliverance, which is like a really good film, and someone must have told him that he was like some kind of artistic auteur or something, and he thought, right, I can basically do what I like, and this is what he did, and it's just baffling.
I've got an article up here, and it says, "Get possessed by the boredom of Exorcist 2: The Heretic."
Yeah, it's not scary. It's not scary at all.
No,
it's not what you want. Script and bad acting, so it's never. It's just bad.
Bad acting by James Earl Jones. I never thought I'd hear the day.
he's just a lion demon in it, man. Like, he doesn't have much to work with.
To be fair, James Earl Jones is more known for his voice acting work.
It's true.
Shall we vote?
This film's hilarious, not in a good way.
For me, it's definitely not even Paddy would be scared by this.
Yeah,
I think
it can't go anywhere else.
What a film of what a topic.
I would encourage everyone to try and seek it out. I mean, it's quite hard to find. Like, I managed to get a copy of it on DVD, but it was quite expensive, and I only got it because I'm like a big Exorcist fan. But if you can watch it illegally online, I would encourage you to do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say pay money for this.
Just for how mental it is. But in terms of, like you were saying about sequels, the third Exorcist film was actually really good.
Yeah. All right.
So they went from classic to awful to decent.
It's a bit of a roller coaster.
Got the whole range, yeah.
So you know what? I think we'll go on to me now. We'll talk about a good film. I'm going to talk about Hush, a horror film with the concept of the main character is deaf, and the film is shot in the same way. So obviously you don't hear much, and I think it uses it to perfection. Obviously, Maddie, the main character, it was deaf from age 13 due to a bout of meningitis. Why we needed to know that, I don't know, but we got to know it.
Hey, backstory.
Backstory, always important. Kate Siegel plays her. I think she does a great job in the role. It's very much a bottle movie. It takes place entirely within her house, and just from the start, it works well. So her next door neighbor is attacked. She tries to get help running to Maddie's house, and Maddie is just simply writing in her book because she's an author, or typing on a laptop, I think it actually is, as Sarah, her neighbor, bangs on the door as she's getting stabbed to death, and you're just watching it and you can't hear, but you can see what's going on, and because you can't hear, you fully understand the fact that Maddie can't hear, and it does it perfectly. And then the man who is the name of the villain. They went creative with his name. He simply realizes this and just goes into full psychological torture mode, and it just works so well. What are your guys' opinions on this?
I mean, I think. Go on.
I like how they introduced the whole kind of like audience into relating to the character when she's cooking, and then it just goes into silence as she's like looking at the grills and everything. And as you say, I think it's such a hilarious introduction to the villain when she's just there getting stabbed a bajillion times in the stomach, and then Maddie's just there going about cooking a steak or whatever she's doing in the kitchen. It's just great. Go ahead, Mangan.
I mean, I think I enjoy horror films where a necessary sense of the human body is taken away. So, like Hush. Losing sight is pretty good, unless it's a loss of your sense of taste. Then I think it's pretty decent, and I really enjoyed it.
Wow, you have no taste.
I can't taste oranges. Kill me.
Yeah, I enjoyed this as well. I thought it was quite like sort of an exciting. I love a sort of bottle type film that sort of take place in one location. If you do that well, I think you can't really do much better. It shows that you don't really need much to kind of do a horror film or do a slasher really well. Like, I think this is quite good. It's just, for me, it's just sort of, it's sort of lacking. I don't know, like, because it's so like tight and so like focused on this one thing. I just think just expanding on it a bit more. Like, there's also Don't Breathe that sort of came out fairly around the sort of same time.
It did, yeah.
For me, that's just a little bit better. Just because it opens it up a bit more. And it's just kind of a bit more exciting. But the director of this, Mike Flanagan, he's gone on to do some like really good stuff. Like, he went on to do Gerald's Game. I don't know if you've seen that, but that's
yes,
fantastic.
That is fantastic as well. Another good choice for this tier list.
Yeah, and he
got two already, lads.
Yeah, Gerald's Game, and he did that Doctor Sleep film that I think nobody saw, but was really good.
That got marketed really weirdly, didn't it? Like,
I think because it was meant to be like a sequel to The Shining, which it kind of was.
To The Shining, but only to the movie The Shining. But they never actually really talked about how it was a sequel to The Shining.
Yeah. It was decent because I'm a huge fan of The Shining and I enjoyed The Shining stuff. But then because it's based off the book as well, because he's like the kid's like a vampire hunter. Anyway, enough about that one. But yeah, as I said, I did enjoy it. I think it is done well, but it's just lacking a certain thing for me to kind of push it up.
There's a few things about this film that I really like that I've noted down. Like, firstly, the villain's introduction to the main character of the pictures being sent to a laptop from her own phone when the killer's inside her house, like standing behind her and stuff. I think that's a really like creepy scene. And then she sees that the door's open and he's there and rushes to shut it. I really like that. And then when he makes Sarah's dead body tap on the window, that's when you just get an idea of just how sick and like torturous this guy is going to be. The whole boyfriend confrontation is great too. He realizes quite quickly that this guy is not a cop, and he might actually be the murderer. But then gets distracted, and the guy just nonchalantly stabs him through the neck and go, "Yeah, it's over, mate." But
I don't think there's a bad death in this film.
No, there's not. I mean, there's not many
like
either,
two.
but there's three. But I like the realism of that death because he then like fights it, like he gets a burst of adrenaline and tries to take the guy out, but obviously doesn't last long enough to strangle him to death. It has some really nice gruesome scenes, such as the crumpled hand through the door when she gets her hand trapped and the guy just stomps on it, and then you just see the fingers all bent. I thought that was quite gross, but great at the same time. And the scene where she's going through all the different scenarios of how she can't run, she can't hide, she can't wait. all that stuff until she realizes she's got to kill the killer. And then the fight at the end of the film is really good. Using the loud fire alarm to her advantage is like a clever little thing that's implemented really well. So I actually do like this film quite a lot.
I think we should vote there, unless anyone else has anything to say.
No, I think we've talked it out. I'll get it on. I think this is horrifying.
Okay,
I'll agree with that.
Jacob.
For me, it's just a decent time for me.
Ooh.
There was never a point in it where I was like, I'm genuinely like horrified or I'm scared. There's like it was tense. I'd give it that, but there was never a point where it was like genuinely horrifying.
See, I agree with you, but I also I think what tips it into horrifying for me is the premise, like the idea of death, a deaf person's perspective on things. So yeah, that's probably why I'm going to put it in horrifying.
All right then.
Ritson.
Ritson, go ahead.
All right, let's talk about another interesting concept for me. I want to talk about Cloverfield, where, just having a nice little party, everything's fine, and then bang, the Statue of Liberty's head is rolling along the street, and all kinds of chaos sets loose on the city. And I really enjoyed this film. I like the concept of the handheld camera, realistic kind of view on what's happening. The whole, it's like a Godzilla type monster. I think there's a silly moment where they're in a helicopter escaping and they don't go high enough so the monster's able to like claw the helicopter out of the air and make it crash. I think that, but we'll forget that. I just really enjoyed the film in general. I think it's quite tense at times, and I do like the handheld camera recorder angle to it, where it kind of like jumps from them like a month earlier, saying they've just been on a date and everything. There's also a little I don't know if you guys have watched this, and if you noticed that apparently in that little opening scene of that camera, you see something drop from the sky into the ocean and splash, and that might be like
because apparently like the ending like line that if you flip the audio backwards, it says it's still alive.
It's still,
with this, it's a J.J. Abrams monster film, so it's always gonna, you'd expect it to be decent. But when watching it, I found it was weird. It was somehow original but extremely generic to me. And then I found an article by I believe Vogue. I forgot to write it down. I wrote down the author Todd McCarthy, if anyone knows who he is. But he put down what he thought of this, and he said old-fashioned but in new treads. And I thought that epitomizes what this film is, because it's a monster film like Godzilla, but they've made it found footage with the people trying to run away rather than focusing entirely on the monster.
Well, yeah. I mean, South Park probably do it best with its skit with the giant guinea pigs. I'm so startled.
Yeah. I really like this quite a bit as well. Yeah. So again, Drew Goddard, who directed Cabin in the Woods, wrote this. So there you go, another appearance from him. I really like that nothing's really explained. Well, until the sequels that aren't really sequels, but nothing's really like explained during that. So you're just kind of focusing on like the characters that you're with. And there's like bits where they're going through like the hospital bit where like that woman gets infected, then she like explodes.
Oh,
that's just not explained, which I quite like, just because you are with these characters and the characters don't know, so you're not going to know as well. Some of the visuals are like properly iconic as well. Like the Statue of Liberty shot of it bouncing down the street is just properly good. For me it is really good. It pushes the found footage genre that can be like sort of a bit stale. I mean, we've picked two really good found footage films that we'll touch on the next one later on. But I think that does
actually they got in a bit of trouble for that, didn't it? The Statue of Liberty scene, because of how close this film because this film came out 7 years after 9/11, so it
Oh,
got
come
got
on.
in a bit of trouble because of the whole "you're destroying New York." How much are you guys monsters?
I don't
Who's the
think.
real
How many
monsters?
horror films show monsters destroying America?
I know was 9/11 a big monster? Was it? I didn't know that.
Oh,
Didn't know. Yeah. So should we touch a little bit on the sequels that aren't really sequels?
I don't
I
really
we
want
can talk about them, but they shouldn't really come into how we rank them.
True. I just thought with you can't really talk about Cloverfield without sort of talking about the sort of the Cloverfield verse type thing. But 10 Cloverfield Lane being really good, and then the Cloverfield Paradox being one of the worst films I've sort of ever seen.
I've seen 10 Cloverfield Lane. I think that is a good film. Probably not as good as the original, but yeah, I've yet to see the third one, so I can't wait to put myself through that torture.
They're just like it's always baffled me as being like, because they're clearly films that weren't written to be Cloverfield films, and then they've just kind of just slapped the name on, and I don't really understand what JJ's doing.
what's he
Yeah,
playing at?
they don't really seem like
Making money.
Other than ruining Star Wars, what's he doing? What's he doing?
That was Rion Johnson for me.
Oh,
Jedi's a good
So
film.
can we not talk about Star
Let's-
Wars? I'm
Yeah,
actually
let's not.
angry about
We'll do that. We'll do a different one of that manga where I can tell you how you're wrong.
Oh, wait, wrong about what?
About when The Last Jedi is the best one that we've
It
had
is.
recently.
Yeah.
No.
Right,
no.
no, we
No.
said we weren't
No.
getting into this. We
No.
said we weren't getting into this.
No,
Right,
I-
okay. Right. Let's vote this. Let's vote this film.
Oh,
I'm gonna say
Richard, your topic. Go ahead. Where you putting it?
I've put it in horrifying. I think it's an interesting film, entertaining, as Jacob said. For the found footage genre, it does it a lot of good. Yeah, so I put it in horrifying. I wouldn't put it quite in the top tier.
To me, this is decent time.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's just what if a monster film was found footage?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's decent time. I think we have two found footage horror films here, and I think this is the weakest of the two. And yeah, it's decent. That's it for me.
Yeah, same for me. It's definitely a decent time. I do really like it. I do think it does some really interesting stuff. I like the editing of it, where it sort of cuts back to kind of them in the past to sort of give a bit more of like a backstory to them, as sort of like jumping around on like a memory card type thing. I do like it, but for me, it is just a decent time.
All right. Well, it is time to go on to what is far and away my favorite ever horror film. I am going with Prometheus. I'm joking. I am joking.
There's going to be carnage then.
I'm joking. It is John Carpenter's The Thing. What I love about this film is got a great story. It's got believable characters who are trying to be smart to save their own lives. It's got a terrifying creature who the special effects were done by Rob Bottin, which is amazing. And what else about it is that there's a lot of it that is so ambiguous. You have literally no idea who is infected, who is not. And people you think are infected are actually okay. And you have a particular scene where, what's his name? I think it's Norris, is it? He has a heart attack, and as cops is giving him resuscitation, his hands just go through his stomach as the giant creature's teeth just clamps down and bites his arms off. And I think this is one of the best horror films.
That's probably one of the best horror scenes you've described.
Yeah,
the out of nowhere, the belly opens up and suddenly this man's lost both arms.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of it that's quite quiet and not much is happening, but that's because it just when the horror and the gore actually do happen, it has such a major effect.
It's true. This is not even one of my favorite horror films of all time. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's honestly everything about it is just brilliant. It's John Carpenter directing. He's one of my favourite directors, and I think he is his masterpiece. I love all the actors in it. I love Kate Russell as McCready, Wilford Brimley as the Doctor. Is it Blair? Is the Doctor?
Blair, yeah.
Blair? Wilford Brimley in probably his only good role, maybe possibly, other than those diabetes adverts. But yeah, there's so many scenes that I just love in this film. The one where they're testing people's blood is just an absolute masterpiece and like suspense building. I love the fact that because it's like got that all male cast, and even though the characters kind of like are developed, everyone kind of sort of seems sort of quite similar. So you also as an audience member have that kind of confusion of not knowing kind of like who's who or kind of like what's going on. It is just truly fantastic.
Like I said, similar to Cabin in the Woods, when you look at it, watch it again, it cheapens himself a bit. When you watch The Thing again, you look at new things, new ideas. So one of the things that's big to me is when in the first time when I watched it and Blair was destroying all the radio equipment, you thought, oh my god, he's making sure that the Thing doesn't get out again. But then when I look back at it and realised that he was a Thing, he was assimilated. You think
maybe he was the Thing. He just want people.
Yeah, he's doing it to make sure people get there immediately.
Yeah.
Also, there is a bit of dark humor in it. Like
it's filled with it.
Yeah, when Mac goes in to see Blair to find Knowles, and you look inside the cabin, there's just a noose.
No, it's got the noose.
Can I come back inside?
Yeah. It's like, I'm all right, mate. Can I come back inside now? And there's just like a noose in the front of the front of the thing. The bit at the start where he's playing the chess computer. And he destroys pours the whiskey in the chess computer.
One of the worst things for it is the fact that it got a prequel.
I was going to ask, Mike. So, if we talked about the Cloverfield sequels, we're going to talk about
okay, I'll talk for it for 30 seconds. So, The Thing had a in quotation marks prequel, but the problem was this in quotation marks prequel was a in quotation marks absolute ripoff. It was the same film with Norwegian people and the lad from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and it kind of like ruins the start of The Thing as well, because it's sort of the good thing about the start of The Thing is you don't know why they're like shooting at the dog. You don't know why they're like really scared of it, and just having that kind of ruins it for me. Also, they did like really bad, like the CGI. I mean, I'm not a person that like hates CGI, but they didn't do it very well.
No, like
it doesn't help that The Thing is probably as a movie the epitome of what you can do if you use practical effects.
Yeah.
To then use CGI poorly on its prequel.
Like I said, Rob Bottin, all credit to him. The effects on it are probably the best in horror history, I would say. Are probably
for
the best.
Practical ones, yeah.
Effects,
Everything is like just its own new animatronic thing. Everything's really tangible. Yeah. You can see all like the goo like oozing off things, all the teeth and sort of things like that.
Yeah, you have the massive creature, the dog creature. You have
the spider head.
The spider head, where you gotta be fucking kidding me as the things run away.
Yeah, the thing runs off.
I think this is going to be absolutely gruesome.
You mean gruesomely brilliant?
Gruesomely brilliant. Yeah, I was just looking at some of the creatures from The Thing just to look at how brilliant it's done. Like, it is gruesomely brilliant. It is my favorite horror film of all time.
Yeah, it's like I like all the creatures are like made out of like.
Do we want to bully Mangan and just put it in Knife and Paddy would be scared by this?
Yeah, put it in the
bottom. Terrified of this.
Yeah, I like what I like a lot about the sort of special effects and like the creatures. They're all like you can sort of see like the bits that they're made out of like other things, like the sort of dog creature where it like is like that sort of flower bulb type thing, and then it like opens up, and then all the teeth are like dogs, like all dog tongues, like around in like a big circle, all with teeth on it. It's just so grim but so good at the same time. For me, it is truly gruesomely brilliant.
Yeah. Ritson, do you want to go?
No, I've got really nothing to add. You talked quite in depth about it. So
gruesomely brilliant.
I
have to. It's my favorite film.
It's like one of the classics, isn't it? So I think definitely deserves that.
All right, then in that case, we go back round to Jacob. What do you want to talk about now?
Oh, what do I want to talk about now? Okay, boys. So we all know about ghosts and ghoulies, don't we? And they're all ghosts and ghoulies, and they're all a bit scary. But what if those ghosts and ghoulies got in to your laptop?
What if? hey,
I
look,
did not know where that was going.
that. We're in a Skype call now. I'm already concerned for my safety.
I'm already concerned for mine as well. This Skype call might just end up getting a bit spooky. Yeah, I want to talk about 2014's horror, in inverted commas, Unfriended. So for those of you uninitiated or have had the pleasure of not seeing this film, so it's a group of online chat room friends. They meet up as you do with all your friends. You meet up in a Skype room after a hard day at college, and then all of a sudden a mysterious force comes in, and one by one they're killed off in ways that don't really make sense. Like, what kind of powers does this demon have?
Yeah, this demon can do anything.
It can literally do anything. I hate this film. So feel free if anyone would like to defend it before I absolutely rip it a new one.
I'm gonna say it was a good idea for what turns out to be an
It's not a good idea.
I think it's
It's a good idea to make a cheap film.
You just wait until before a watch as your hand gets closer to a blender in your room. You just wait till that happens, then you won't be calling
because everyone's got a bedroom blender, haven't they?
I was gonna say it wasn't.
I also always have a bottle of bleach next to me. In fact, I do right now.
To be fair, she was in like the washing room, wasn't she? I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's actually quite a cool shot of the camera coming back and she's frozen, and then
that's probably the best.
Then you see the phone like slowly coming across. Yeah.
Are you not a fan of the better shot of the woman who had a curling iron stuck down her throat that had been turned on?
As well. I'm just saying
I hate all of these deaths because they're not shown, and the ones that are shown are really simple. Like, why not show the person drink bleach? All you have to do is get a bleach bottle, clean it so that it's not got bleach in, and put foamy water in so that they can foam at the mouth easier.
Oh, Collins, you're a special effects guru.
You're a genius.
Well, this film was made on the cheap. It only cost $1 million to make, and somehow made 64.
The thing with it though, the only thing that I like is that they did manage to get everything licensed. So they've got Spotify. They can actually use Spotify. They can use the real Skype. They can use Google. So at least it would have been infinitely worse if they'd had to make up their own things.
They were using Bing.
Bing. Oh yeah, imagine that.
The thing is, I genuinely prefer the sequel. The sequel actually takes the concept and makes it work a bit better having it be supernatural Skype and making it computer hackers.
Yes, the second one had a really good death when someone was swatted after they heard.
That's actually a fantastic death that I could see happening. Like when they call the police on him. He goes to try and let the police in and explain, hey, it's not on purpose. No, I didn't do this. And they hack into his computer and cause the sound of a shotgun being loaded to get played, which causes the police to shoot through the door. Now, and fair enough, in America in the 21st century, that's incredibly believable.
That is very believable, to be fair.
The second one is funny. It's still not good though.
I've not seen the second one.
There's also two endings in the second one.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the second one. We're talking about the truly awful. We're talking about the truly awful first one. So the premise of it being this girl who got bullied, and then she comes back. She kills herself. Is that what it is? Yeah, she doesn't get. She kills herself.
She committed suicide due to a video that one of them put on Facebook, and now she gets her revenge on all of them, despite the fact that only one of them actually did it.
From beyond the grave.
I enjoy the fact that it was like, oh, we're gonna do Never Have I Ever, and Bailey and Adam, you're gonna have two things written down. If something happens on this, then you've got to reveal it. And it's like, no, please don't say it. Please don't say it. Adam goes to Bailey or whatever the hell she's called, and he goes, I slept with Adam. And he reveals the piece of paper that says, if Bailey reveals that I slept with her, I have to be shot.
Yeah, so what power, like, it's because you don't have like a thing for what powers the entity or whatever it is has. It's just you've got no basis for what it can and can't do. Also, all the characters are just awful. Everyone's a horrible person.
which, to be fair, is good because it's not that. That's generally the redeeming thing about this film. Everyone dies.
Collins, did you go underwater then?
Yeah. You guys all went silent, so I'm assuming
you went.
Drop in internet quality.
Oh no, I think we're all right. Yeah, the fact that everyone does die is kind of a thing. Also, you do get one of my least favorite things in horror films, which is a stupid jump scare right at the end, and it's just you just can't be beaten.
I don't think we should give this any more gratitude. I think we've given it enough love as it is.
But Paddy might find it spooky then.
He would, but I'm still putting it there.
It's still going bottom tier.
Actually, yeah, it has to go. I was like, oh, would it be boring because Paddy might be a bit scared of it, but no, I can't. Like,
I was gonna give it a decent time, but all right.
Oh no,
that's
Oh,
quite.
oh, come on! What makes it a decent?
come on, destroy him.
We put
Explain
Cloverfield.
that
We put
rating right
Cloverfield in that category. You
Well,
can't
I
put
didn't.
Unfriended in.
I didn't put it in that category.
Fair enough.
All right. What I'm going to talk about then, if we move on to me, we've talked about a sequel already, and we've talked about every other movie's sequel as well. So let's go into an actual sequel. We've talked about how horror movies can go on a bit too long. I'm going to go for the 9th Friday the 13th. Jason Goes to Manhattan. Yeah.
Is it Jason Takes Manhattan?
No, it goes to, isn't it?
Or is it? I don't know.
One of them.
It's one of them, and do we really care?
True.
But for a film called Jason Goes to Manhattan, only 20 minutes of the film takes place in Manhattan.
He's on a boat for all. He's on a boat for all of it.
Yeah. There is literally this film has 12% on Rotten Tomatoes.
12.
12.
Oh no.
The ending, if I'm remembering correctly, because I was quite drunk when watching this, Jason somehow gets de-aged by sewer waste.
Oh my god, yes, he turned into a baby.
Turned into a baby. But this film has one of my favourite Friday the 13th deaths of where Julius, who's the boxer, he just punches constantly Jason and just gives up and goes, all right, that big guy, you'll go. And he gets his head punched clean off in one go.
Give us your best shot, and he just punches his head off you. But that's the only good kill in it. And in the Friday the 13th and all the later sort of films of thing, all you want is just good kills, and it doesn't. And this film doesn't do that, apart from that one.
The thing is, originally I wanted to talk about Jason X, but Mangan chose Jason X. And then Mangan decided not to choose Jason X, and had already chose Jason Goes to Manhattan, so quite annoyed at you.
Jason X is worse.
Yeah, but it's also got better kills.
I don't know. It's got he's sort of a robot in it.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm sorry, but one of the characters is a guy who built himself a sex robot. I mean, come on, you want to see him die.
Yeah, but this one, it's just for me. It doesn't do what I want from a slasher.
Really,
so,
the 9th time.
Well, to be fair, I'd only seen the first one and the second one. So when I turned this on, I was worried. Oh, am I not going to understand the story too? And then watching it, I was like, oh, it clearly doesn't matter.
To be fair, he is all you need to know. He is an undead zombie at this point.
Yeah, because in the other ones, he didn't appear to be some kind of super interdimensional, unkillable demon, but he is now. So that was good to know.
I think he becomes an undead zombie in part 6 when what's his name, Tommy whatever, decides, you know
What does he
what,
die
I'm
in?
going to resurrect the guy who keeps trying to kill me.
Oh yeah, does he die in
That's a
5?
logical thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, this isn't the worst Jason film. The worst Jason film is Jason Goes to Hell, because that's the film where Jason starts possessing people.
Oh, that is awful.
It's
I
a
wonder what
Jason
scores that
Voorhees
got on
film,
Rotten
and you
Tomatoes.
decide what I'm gonna do is we're gonna kill Jason Voorhees in the first 10 minutes, but his spirit lives on.
Isn't
At
it-
least it's sort of
isn't he meant to be,
that's
like,
the bit
a
at the end
giant-
where they get his mask is dragged by Freddy Krueger in it, and then you get Freddy
Yeah,
versus
yeah,
Jason.
the ending of that is meant to lead into Freddy versus Jason, and then it takes about 5 years for them to agree to do
I don't
that.
think it was even that. I think it was like 10 years before it even came out.
Yeah, I
But,
think,
Yeah.
yeah,
like,
true.
but
Also, it's Camp Crystal Lake.
how
How does the boat get to New York?
It's also Lake Crystal. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, how does it?
The lake.
Also, it's called the bits in New York are fun, but if the whole film was like, I probably might have liked it a bit more. But for me, the kills aren't there. There's no fun other things. The characters aren't that great. For me, it's just really boring, and it's one of the worst Friday the 13th movies. Which I can like. The first one is really good, and so is the second one. And this film's encouraged me to go and watch the rest of them. So maybe for the next time, I can come back to you on what ones I recommend.
I think three's good, 4 and 5 are average, and then 6 is where six where you get to Immortal Zombie Jason. It's when it really goes into we're just gonna find ways for Jason to kill people in new situations, leading up to Jason X, where he is 1,000 years in the future and gets unfrozen. But to be fair, Jason X does have my favorite kill, where they do the sleeping bag kill once again. But they do it in a VR room with.
But they do it worse. It's not as
scantily
good. It's
clad
done.
women.
Do it worse. It's just not as good.
It's funny though. It's a funnier version of it, so I like it.
I
It's
refuse to
obviously-
talk.
It's not.
I refuse to talk about the film where basically a natty doctor turned into a spider.
Yeah, should we vote for this, Dan? So,
I think I can tell where this one's gonna go. Just got a
I think
feeling.
it's boring because I love the Julius kill too much, and it's still a fun last 20 minutes.
Yeah,
And
as
the
Colin.
final act's the most important part.
Yeah, so the
Actually,
I was
just
the man. Go on, Ben. Sorry.
just for the one punch decapitation.
It is.
I feel like gruesomely brilliant would
literally-
be fair. Yeah.
It is literally stated.
No, but a guy saying, "Yeah, go on, I can take this punch from you," gets his head clean taken off in one go, and it lands in a bin, which wasn't even planned.
It lands in the bin.
It accidentally happened, and they
No
thought,
way.
no, we're not doing any more takes of that because we've got it perfect.
That's the one. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, boring's probably fair then in that
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, because I wouldn't. As I said, it does have some fun bits in it that makes it probably not the worst thing ever, but it is still. Most of the film is quite boring.
Right, written, or is it?
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go on to a zombie film. Let's go on to World War Z, starring Brad Pitt. He's just your everyday dad who's somehow this medical / fighting genius. Oh, and he's also incredibly handsome. And I don't know. I kind of like this film, to be fair. When I watched it, it was like entertaining, I felt, but you do kind of realize that it is just kind of repeating the same kind of thing throughout. He goes to a place, it seems like it's all right, the zombies attack. Then he goes to another place, the zombies attack, and he has to get out of there, etc., etc. But I do like the concept of the zombies ignoring ill people because they just don't recognize them as like human beings. They don't explain how it came about, which is fine, to be fair. A lot of zombie films don't do that. But it kind of felt like there should have been a sequel to this. I don't know.
It
I don't know
got
if you guys.
cancelled.
Oh,
Yeah, it
did
got
it?
cancelled,
Oh,
yeah.
It got cancelled
Wow.
February last year.
well, damn.
Good.
Yeah, well, that would have been good. Yeah, that would
This
have like
film
maybe.
is so boring. I mean, this film's somehow really slow but rushed.
I didn't think it was that boring, to be honest. I think it had some really cool moments in it.
It
South
genuinely
Park did it
pains
better.
me. Yeah, it did. It did. But it genuinely pains me. This is the highest grossing zombie movie of all time at $540 million.
Really?
Half a billion
Wow.
for such a load of tosh.
Is it for me? It's like, is it even just because it's got zombies in it? Yeah, but it's not. It's like more of an action film in it.
Yeah, it's
A little bit, yeah.
It's that important distinction. It's like we talked about the difference between scary movie and Cabin in the Woods. Like I said, what like they're trying to be. It's like I'd describe Cabin in the Woods as a horror comedy, but Scary Movie as a comedy horror. It's important which one you're putting first. And World War Z does put action first. It wants its cool set pieces rather than actually building towards a horror movie.
There's quite a few coincidences in this film that really helps. What is it? Is it Jerry? Yeah, stay alive. Such as when it first outbreaks in the city. There's just an RV, just there, completely abandoned, with no traffic in front of it or anything. Free to go. There's not like thousands of other people running around that RV that could possibly at any second think, hang on a second, might want to get out of here, on wheels instead of feet. And then obviously you got to follow the generic zombie film moment of, oh wait, the car battery's dead and you can't get it back up, and oh no, the girl's got asthma, so you have to account for all these things. And
yeah,
then,
I do enjoy a good. Someone's got asthma.
Yeah,
and they gotta go in. But yeah, I like. There's some stuff I enjoy. I like the sheer amount of zombies that there are in some of the shots. Like I like the bit where they're all like clambering up the wall, and there's like a huge big.
I was gonna mention that's a really good scene.
Two big pile of them.
Yeah, there's good panning shots in this film of all the zombies, but that's all I will give this film.
But there's one problem with that the zombies scaling up the wall is that they're in this like city that they've barricaded, and what attracts the zombies is this singing, right? This loud singing, the celebratory thing that they're doing. And I'm just thinking, so they've been there for a while, and none of the cars, the helicopters, the trucks coming into the city or anything has attracted the zombies to the noise, but someone's singing. That's when they're going to scale the walls. It's a bit like, really? They haven't done this until Brad Pitt gets here and they start singing?
I was going to say, they realised Brad Pitt was there and they wanted an autograph really bad.
Yeah, yeah. But I do like the way that they ignore, people who have pathogens in them or, just ill or whatever. I do kind of like that concept.
This is why we've never discovered the cure for the common cold, just in case the zombie outbreak happens.
Yeah. I think the sort of final act of the film is just really not very good at all in like the research facility. I don't think.
I love how he survives a plane crash and then like a metal spike in his stomach as well. Like just survives that. It's fine.
I like the plane crash bit actually.
Yeah,
it'd be good if he died.
Yeah, but he's survived.
It's based off a book. Has anyone read the book?
I never read the book.
It's completely different to the movie.
Yeah, I've heard it's meant to be completely different.
It's also based on the sequel book.
Oh right, okay.
So they didn't even not adapt the first book.
I've just got me. Let me have a look at my notes. I've got a few things maybe that I like about it. Mostly I don't like it. I think it is a bit sort of boring. It doesn't really do much. It opens with a Muse song. Can't go wrong.
Which Muse song? I've completely forgotten.
It's Isolated System. It's like over the credits.
Oh,
so. Also, they performed at the premiere. Some Muse knowledge there for you. Also, our friend Drew Goddard, who's wrote 3 of the films that we've talked about today, also has a screenwriting credit on this.
Oh, all right. Well, you know what? 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. Yeah, it is more of an action film sort of for me. I do like Brad Pitt's probably my favorite kind of like leading man type actor, but I don't think he does his best work in this. I like the bit where the guy falls over and shoots himself in the head, just because I think that's really
Oh.
stupid.
That.
I enjoyed that more than most of the kills in Jason Takes Manhattan. Yeah, for me, it's just a big Hollywood action blockbuster that's just falls a little bit short.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Alright.
vote here.
I'd put it in a decent time, to be honest. I think it has enough to be there. It's not like the greatest film of all time, and there is a lot of coincidences and stuff that they could have done better storyline wise. But I don't know. I still found it entertaining enough. to put
Okay,
it there.
Jacob.
To me, I'd go Bourne.
It's because I don't think it's like bad. I've just had a look on IMDb and it's rated like 7, which I thought was that's quite high.
That's generous.
Yeah. Yeah, but for me, because it's a horror list, I'm gonna have to put it into boring because I'm probably not gonna seek it out.
To be fair, I
Again.
don't think Paddy would be scared by this.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
enough to put it there.
There's some spooky jumpy bits in. There's some
Oh,
spooky.
sure.
I'm sure we went to the cinemas to watch it with Paddy.
I didn't watch it with you guys.
Oh well, look at you.
No. I watched it 5 times because I was currently working in a cinema at the time.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna probably put it boring as well. Unlucky. So
Outvoted again.
let's talk about a really, really good film. Let's talk about Prometheus. We actually are doing it this time.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god. I love the Alien franchise, and the idea of it being like a prequel evolution towards the main franchise and how people got there really shot itself in the foot. I think the one saving grace is Michael Fassbender's portrayal as David the android. I think that's literally the one saving grace. I think it is a relatively poor film for what it tried to expand on.
Well, I really liked when a guy died because of his injuries from being beaten to death with a decapitated android head. So,
I mean, the guy was meant to be like 80, so...
Oh, I know, but still, I think it was funny.
I wrote one line for my notes. It's just boring. Nothing happens.
Boys, am I gonna shock you?
Oh my word! Don't tell me
No,
like this.
no, he's not.
Like is maybe a strong word. Enjoy, maybe.
I think that's even better than like.
Just
say you tolerate it.
Because I do quite like some. I'm a huge fan of the Alien franchise, even the bad ones. And I do think it trying to expand it in that way it goes like Alien Covenant's. It's so much worse than this. I think people forget that. I really like Noomi Rapace's performance as the main one, so I think she does a really good job in the thing. I really like the bit where she gets the sort of proto-alien taken out of her. I think that's a really good scene.
I like that, yeah.
I think it looks brilliant. I think Ridley Scott did a good job of directing it. Like, I think it is one of the best looking sort of sci-fi films that we've had in a while. Yeah, I enjoy it.
But what about?
I understand there are
They
some stupid
can't
things
run
in it.
away properly.
Okay, yeah, she does. Yeah, ha 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 ha. She runs the wrong way. She should run side. Why didn't she just run sideways?
One of them dies because of it.
Yeah, I know.
It's
It's
she tried to run
dies because of this
building.
Charlize Theron gets ran over by a giant donut. Let's look at that.
Unbelievable. One of them figures out, oh wait, and now I fell over. Now I can roll to the side, but not when they're running. And then
I'm not going to say.
The one just lies there screaming instead of even trying to move out the way.
You could have done a barrel roll and they got it out of that.
I'm not going to say there's not stupid things in it. All I said, there's some interesting ideas. Most people's performances are quite good. I don't think anyone's bad, apart from Guy Pearce. Well, he's only in it for a little bit, but the weird old man makeup's like really bad.
Yeah.
Considering we were talking at the start about the Exorcist with that brilliant Max von Sydow old man makeup, and that was in the 70s, and then this one's just
Yeah.
so bad.
Let's make you look like Johnny Knoxville. That looks all right.
Yeah, there's some interesting ideas. It expands on the sort of alien verse, I think, in an interesting way. I like the kind of engineers thing. I like the not knowing like why they wanted to create this thing to kill all humanity. I like that there was questions that were going to be answered, and then they've just sort of forgot about them in Alien Covenant.
Yeah. When at the start we see one of the engineers drink something and then just like evaporate. What's that about? Do we ever find out why he did that?
Other than in Alien Covenant, David uses that to kill all of them on the planet, on the engineer's planet.
Fair play to the fella, he is ripped. You know,
I mean-
I wouldn't mind looking like that.
So the only reason that shot of the guy basically committing suicide is so that in the next film they're like, oh well, this kills them.
I don't think they had that planned out, mate.
No, I think you meant to just sort of think as to like why he's sort of done that, and then you meant to kind of expand on the thing of like that I think they were so disappointed like with humanity, and he tried to create this sort of super apex predator for killing, because I think that's an interesting thing to expand on with the Alien sort of universe, that they are the perfect like human killing machine, and then to sort of think as to, oh, why are they sort of like that, and it's because the people who created Earth or created humans wanted to get rid of them. I think that's an interesting way. But yeah, that's for me. I don't think it's as bad as what you're saying it is. I think it's worth more than one line, Colin, saying it was boring.
I just didn't really. I again, this came out while I was working at the cinema. I had to watch it too many times.
That's the thing. Like yourself, Jacob, I am a huge fan of the Alien verse. You know, I can watch AVP2 Requiem and still.
Oh, I won't go that far.
Yeah. But Prometheus for me is just such a huge letdown because it had so much potential and just failed to capitalize on it whatsoever. The last bit, like, it was called The Deacon by Ridley Scott. Like, the idea of evolution possibly towards the perfect organism. But again, it just fails to deliver for me, which is such a shame.
It's sort of just that thing, though, that everyone just sort of went, oh my god, so that's the first alien. And then Ridley Scott goes, oh, no, that's not an alien. That's actually a deacon. It will evolve into an alien. It's like, just show us how aliens are created.
We want xenomorphs.
Yeah, okay. Shall we vote?
Yeah, this is boring.
To me, that's where I'd put it.
Jacob?
A decent time.
Okay, and Ritson?
I'm stuck between the two. No, I'll go with boring. Just for that. Just for the donut thing.
I tried, Ridley. I tried.
I don't know where we would have put it if Ritson said decent, because we've got the guy who put it forward against the special guest. But yeah, boring. Yes.
All right. So Jacob, you're next. What's your next choice?
Okay, so I think I'm going to go with. So I'm just going through all my notes because I'm just so prepared for this. So I'm going to go with a film from 2016. So it's a South Korean horror film that maybe not many people have seen, called The Wailing. Have any of you seen this?
Well,
No.
I'm going to be honest now.
I have heard it.
Okay, so I think I've got.
I know the synopsis and the general.
I've got free reign on this one.
Yeah, this will be a case where you say where you put it, and then I put it there.
It's on Amazon Prime, boys. So you should just go and watch it. It's a fun time.
Hang on. If the viewers don't mind this being a 5-hour podcast, I'll just stick it on.
Yeah, we'll just let Collins go and watch it because it is quite a long. It's quite long for a horror film. It's 2.5 hours long. So it's a South Korean horror. I'm a big fan of like Korean cinema, especially at the moment. It's having kind of a bit of a renaissance. There's a lot of themes and sort of stuff I like. A lot of the films go on massive like tonal shifts like halfway through, which I really enjoy. I'm going to mispronounce a lot of people's names, so apologies if you're of Korean descent, but I'm trying my best. So it's directed by Hong Hee-na, who did Yellow Sea a few years ago, which is another really good horror film. And it's so this Japanese guy moves into this little South Korean village, and then a mysterious sickness sort of starts spreading. And then this policeman gets drawn into it when his daughter sort of becomes sick with the illness, and he has to consult this shaman to try and see if there's anything that he can do to save it. It touches a lot on things that I like from The Exorcist, where it grounds this kind of scary like story into sort of a character drama. So a lot of it is about that relationship between the father and the daughter, and how he kind of like will do anything to sort of protect him. It's quite funny. Like the main actor in it, I've forgotten his name. Jung Min Hwang. I'm getting there. I'm getting good. He gives a really good performance because gives you like this sort of a likable guy, sort of down on his luck, and then all these horrible things that happen to him so you feel that more because you start to connect to him, and also because he is quite funny, that offsets because it does get properly gory and really quite horrific later on. The sort of more shocking, the sort of horror aspects. It takes things from Christianity and also from South Korean sort of shamanism, and it has like a lot of Bible imagery in its horror that I really like. And I think it's probably one of the best zombie films of the past sort of few years, because I think it tries to excel the genre in a bit of an interesting direction. But if no one else has seen it, I'll probably stop talking about it.
Yes.
But it is really good.
All right, then.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'll definitely look out to watch it.
Should we
so
vote then?
Where do you want to put it?
For me, I'm going to put it in horrifying.
Oh, that's a bit generous, isn't it?
I could go on, Mangan. I've got
Oh,
pages.
horrifying.
There we go.
All right, then. In that case, we'll move on to me for a film that hopefully we have all seen. Now, I'm thinking, what have we got left? So, let's see. I've got my top choice, and I've got my bottom choice to go. And I think, looking at what we've got left, I'm going to go with my top choice now. So I'm going to talk about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. One of the most well-known and famous horror movies of all time, with possibly one of the most famous horror villains of all time in Leatherface. Just a absolutely terrifying giant of a man wearing a human skin mask. And boy, it was incredible thinking, like, how did he become like this? And then they made the origin story film about him, and then I thought, oh boy, how did he become like this? Because I don't watch that. Never gonna watch that. And a lot it shapes the way horror films are today now. If you look at it, there's so many iconic shots that films have tried to redo. One of the most famous shots is when Sally is walking towards the Sawyer house, and the camera pans up while following her, and it looks kind of pervy because it's just trying to focus on her ass. But really, it's actually a really good shot. And along with that, there's the ending, which has Leatherface dancing with his chainsaw, which a lot of people like to compare to ballet. This film is also brutal with its violence. So violent it got banned in quite a few countries, including the UK. So there's stuff like the meat hooks, where you'd see characters just placed on them, piercing their skin, and it just looks horrific. And the characters and the actors, they sell the pain well. That just works so much. What are your guys for?
I think you're missing also, it's scored the music along with the sound of the camera going on, which is also amazing for it.
Not true, yeah.
The kills are something else. The Sawyer family meals are amazing. It's almost bleak comedy in which they say that Grandpa Sawyer is one of the best killers, but he struggles to hold the hammer down to beat the final girl's head in, which is so dark and so brutally sad at the same time. Like, it is a great film.
Literally, one of the notes I had written down there was about the grandpa. Do you know the actor who played him was only 19?
Yeah, it was a relative of the director. It's like, apparently it was like 50 degrees in that suit. It was boiling.
They were saying they shot those scenes. It was like, apparently it was over 24 hours straight they were shooting.
I heard that
For-
people would have left the building and to have to throw up due to the
Yeah.
level of heat stress, which shows the perfection that they wanted to capture in this scene.
So this for me, for a long time, I was genuinely terrified of this film. This film was like the scariest film I've ever seen. Because when I was like, I can't even remember how young I was, but I remember staying at my nan's, and then people had gone out, and then just looking at the DVDs shelf, thinking, "Oh, something to watch. I love something to watch," and then found DVD of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That sounds fun. I'll stick that on.
As you do.
Well, no, because clearly I was thinking, oh, clearly I'm not meant to watch this, so let's
Yeah.
watch that.
Rebel without a cause.
And then I put it on, and because of the way like it's shot in such, because it's got that sort of cheap sort of style to it.
Yeah.
Toby Hooper's directing is like really good. It feels like people are actually being murdered, and I thought I was watching like a snuff film.
Oh my god!
Because that bit where he comes out of the lift or whatever it is, comes out the lift, and the guy, and he like smacks the guy on the head, and it's just
Straight away.
It's just shot so like matter of factly, and just so like the sound design so brutal on it. I was just like, oh my god, I'm just watching people actually be murdered.
Imagine thinking your nan had a snuff film.
I'm like, well, now have you got this got the snuff film on the show? It feels like a film that was made by the family in it. Like it feels like it was made by the crazy people in it. It's got that sort of vibe to it. I do really like this film a lot.
Yeah, put simply, gruesomely brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ritson, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, some of the corpses you see are like disgustingly like gruesome. The kills are pretty cool on the whole. Yeah, as you said about the meat piercers and how they're just hung on there. Oh, it's kind of very gory. But when what's that girl's name in it? The first one that gets put on the hanger. What's her name?
No idea.
Well, anyway,
Velma.
Victim girl number 1.
Yeah, well, anyway, when she's put on there, but we don't actually see that much. We just see the guy go to plop her on there, but we don't actually like properly see any gory stuff. But obviously, then you've got, I think that first kill of the guy slipping upon Leatherface and him just get whacked with a hammer straight away is quite funny, but also like iconic and like a great death.
I think like it's if they were making the Texas Chainsaw Massacre today, you know that you'd see the hook go through the skin and blood be spurting out everywhere, and it would kind of take away. It would take away from it.
The horror sometimes less is more. Simply put.
Yeah, I also really liked when Leatherface looked like they were dressing up as Mrs. Doubtfire with the wig and everything on. I don't know if you know the scene I'm on about, but
I haven't seen that part. Mrs. Doubtfire.
But
remember the part with Mrs. Doubtfire where he realised he's not getting his kids back, so might as
well he kills them all.
Always apart.
Yeah, I think it's another one of them classics. When you said about The Exorcist being like the most well-known horror film, I immediately thought of this as well alongside it. So if anyone else hasn't got anything to say, should we take a vote?
It's brilliant. I don't think we should even go into a vote.
Yeah,
we all know it's got.
Gruesomely brilliant, yeah.
We apologise, YouTube viewers who will realise we've got the poster for the remake.
We were talking about it before, but the only good thing about the remake is it's got one good shot in it, where the girl gets shot in the face, and then the camera goes like panned back through all the people and goes through her head, out the back of her head. It's just a really good shot.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think where you were going, where you said the woman shot herself, but
yeah, she gets it, and then the camera goes through her head.
Yeah,
it's just a really good shot.
All right, Ritson. Ritson. What are you on now, son?
I am gonna go for what I think is an absolute classic film. I'm gonna go with Shaun of the Dead. Now, this is a film I must have watched this like at least half a dozen times, probably more at some like throughout the years. A really great comedy horror or horror comedy, whichever way around.
Comedy horror.
Comedy horror.
Comedy.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think it's it's very funny, obviously, but also there are like some tense moments, and I feel like you do get connected to the characters quite a lot. And with Sean, you see, the kind of emotional situations he has to go through with, is his father-in-law or is his actual father?
His father-in-law.
Father-in-law, yeah, Philip. How he's like treated so badly, but then at the end, Philip, kind of comes around a bit, and there's a really nice moment there before obviously he turns into a zombie. And then losing his mom and everything. It's like, it's got a mix of everything, but even though it's a really hilarious film that I think is incredibly rewatchable.
Yeah, it's a part of the Cornetto trilogy, so it's always gonna be good. Yeah, it's the first part is what created it. But like, yeah, it's a really good movie. I'm interested in the way you'd put it, to be honest with you, Ritson.
Well, we can get on to that, but let me just talk about some of the funny moments. So there's obviously when they're in the garden, and he goes, "What's the matter, David? Never taking a shortcut." Tries to leap over the fence and just completely fails and falls over, but then springs back up like nothing happened. You've got where he tries to distract the entire horde of zombies and be like, "Oh, I'm here," and then when they all turn around, he's like, "Oh no, I don't know what to do now." Then there's the various plans about, waiting for this to all blow over. The Winchester and all that. It's classic. Where they're talking about like how they just kill Philip with like one hit with a shovel. You've got Queen playing, "Don't Stop Me Now" in the pub while they're just beating zombies up with snooker cues. You've got Sean and Ed throwing the records at the two zombies when they first like discover them. And then you've got Sean going back to the shop and being completely oblivious to the bloody handprint on the fridge of where the drinks are. It's great film. Any of you guys got anything to add?
Yeah, Edgar Wright is like my favorite director, and this is it's just peak them. It's so good in every way. Like I said, it is hilarious, and then it does also have those sort of moments that bring it sort of back to reality. Like the bit where he does have to shoot his mum is like properly grim.
I hated that.
Yeah, but it is one of my favorite films of all time. I think I have seen it about 1,000 times. It does also help that it's on ITV2 like every night as well. So that's always helpful.
Yeah. And in the end, he ends up back with his girlfriend. So it kind of has like a sort of happy ending, even though he's lost his, mum and his best friend. But he now games with his zombie best friend as well, which is kind of cute but also weird. But I guess it's a happy ending. Personally, if we're gonna go into a vote, unless Collins or Mangan, you guys got anything to say?
I'd more say the fact that it is a horror film, obviously, because it's a zombie film, but it's not a proper horror film, which takes away from it in terms of like this. But it's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a fantastic comedy, and Nick and Simon are just one of the best comedy duos on film.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And, you said about the start of that Cornetto trilogy. It's also, they do continue the whole fence failing.
They do, yeah.
Fence thing. That's a great continuation.
Continuity.
I gotta allow that. I'm having a stroke over it. I would put this in gruesomely brilliant. And I know it's not like a proper horror film because of how much, comedy is in it, but as a film it is so great. And I know we did say it's a horror tier list, but it does class as a horror film, and it is a fantastic film. It's an all-time classic, so for that reason I do have to put it in the top tier.
All right.
I'm 100% with you, Ritson. I think it's also a great horror film as well, because it does have like some properly, like the gore, and it's really good as well. Like the bit where David gets ripped apart by all the monsters
that was horrible.
Actually, I just remember that part, so I'm probably gonna agree.
It's fantastic, and it is any Edgar Wright film for me is just truly. And I'm very excited because it was meant to come out this year. He's doing like an actual like full blown horror film called like Last Night in Soho or something like that. And it was meant to come out this year, but it got coroned, so should be coming out next.
Oh.
Hopefully coming out next year.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited for that, and for me, it is gruesomely brilliant.
That's great. One other thing you're saying about how it does have those elements to a proper horror in it. When he's in the bathroom of his house.
Oh yeah,
He opens the mirror and nothing's there. He closes it and there's the shadow.
Yeah.
That is a bit of like a jump scare. You know, it's kind of a scary moment in it. But anyway, Collins.
To me, as much as I love it, it is horrifying. That I'd put it in. It don't get me wrong, fantastic film. And if we were doing comedy movies, it'd be top tier. But in terms of like horror, do I really want to put it on the same level as Texas Chainsaw?
Well, I mean, if you enjoy the film just as much, I think it belongs there. You know, I mean, it's a different kind.
I know.
Of
Yeah,
but...
I know. Well, let's let Mangan vote.
Mangan's got this.
No, I haven't, because
No.
whatever I say, it's Ritten's winning because he's the boss on this one.
That's how it works.
I'd probably say gruesomely brilliant because it is what it is. It like you said, it's got some really good deaths in it, and I completely forgot about them for a second then. So yeah, I'd probably agree. Oh yeah, it's me again.
I think that we all got our gruesomely brilliant into the spot that we wanted.
It's
and
amazing.
We all voted for it, apart from me on Shaun of the Dead.
This is what happens.
They were all clean sweeps apart from me.
You know what? You heard that, Paddy? That's what happens when we love each other.
All right then. So yeah, that Mangan you now.
Yeah, I'm thinking good or bad here, and obviously I want to end it on a sour note, so I'm going with my good one.
Mate, come on, look, we've got me and Ritson have a bad one left, and Jacob's got a good one left. So this is a bad one.
Well,
Two good and two
are we
bad.
gonna have to? Because
Yeah,
I
do
really.
that, mate.
Oh, fine. I was gonna save myself because I wanted to do a massive rant, but screw it. I'm gonna do Nightmare of Elm Street, The Dream Child. Why do horror films persist on being like 5 to 10 films long? Just because you can make a bit of extra dollar don't mean it's gonna be good. This is truly awful. So basically, Freddy's back. Surprise, surprise. He's been killed like 4 other times. But obviously he's gonna be back. And in the form of a possible child this time. Freddy is killing people through the dreams of the girl's unborn fetus.
Yeah. When I saw this on the list of movies that we were doing, I was like, "Oh, I've not seen that. I'm gonna have to watch it." So I watched it the other night, and again, much like with my notes from Exorcist 2, literally didn't have a single idea of what was going on for the whole film. Unlike with the Friday the 13th one we did, where you could kind of sort of jump in without seeing the other ones, I feel as though this one, I don't know, it might have benefited from seeing the 20 other films or whatever that had come before it, whereas I've only seen the first one. But yeah, it's absolutely nonsensical.
It's really bad because actually, no, you know what? No, I was gonna say because Freddy Krueger is quite funny. He's not really. It gets boring after a while.
He just says bitch.
It is funny though when he says bitch. Though.
It is funny, but that's all he does.
There is only one good joke in the entire like Freddy Krueger timeline, in which that actually makes me really laugh, and that's in Dream Warriors, where
Is that he goes to the... No, go on. Is that the thing
where he pushes this girl's face into TV?
Oh, through the TV,
saying,
yeah.
Welcome to primetime, bitch.
Welcome to primetime, bitch.
And that was actually an improvised line as well. But yeah, this film is just awful.
It doesn't even have again with the slasher films that don't even have that good kills in it at all. Like how many people die in this? Like 2 maybe.
It has someone being torn apart. But not torn apart in the sense of...
Not torn apart at all.
Yeah, not torn apart in the sense of...
He's a piece of paper.
Showing. Yes, he is a piece of paper who dies because, like...
He goes into the Take On Me music video. And then he gets cut in half with scissors. yeah, the kills aren't good at all. Again, so it just ruins it because you're not in these for the riveting stories.
Again, like I
It,
said,
it is low point, and it says a lot that the comic book world kill is actually the better one of the two. I mean,
True.
The other one is that the guy falls asleep and Freddy possesses his body and causes the car to crash.
and there's the one which
Does he turn it? Does he turn into a motorbike?
there's one that she's like, yeah, he turns into a motorbike. But
Oh
again,
my god! Like, I must have been quite drunk watching this one.
Again,
yeah, he turns into a motorbike, doesn't he? And then when he dies, he's back. He's in the car again, and then he comes back. It's a stupid film. It was ridiculous.
Again,
I will say, do like Robert Englund.
Oh yeah, he's good.
He's a
horror, a legend.
Same with Kane Hodder as Jason when we were talking about before. I didn't mention it, but I do. They do good work. They just get handed horrific stuff.
I was gonna say, what do you expect with does he expect to make a good dinner when they're given slop?
Yeah.
You know. I was thinking about whether doing me rant now or afterwards, but I'm probably gonna do it afterwards because
we've got one more sequel.
Yeah, one more sequel. So let's just vote on this now. So not even Paddy would be scared of this.
Not even Paddy would be scared by this.
I don't think, but he might get scared because what if he goes, what if I turn into
we
a
are
book?
not putting this higher.
He might go, what if I turn into a book and Freddy Krueger cuts me in half? No, yeah, definitely not even Paddy would find this scary.
All right, that's sorted out then.
All right
then, Jacob, with your last one.
Okay, boys. So, I know you were meant to sort of pick ones that kind of weren't, whatever you meant to do in a certain list, but I just picked ones that I wanted to talk about. So we're going to move on to 2018's Hereditary, a film that I absolutely love so much. So it's directed by Ari Aster in his first theatrical film debut, which is mental. Have we all seen this? Or am I just
it's mental.
No, I've seen it.
Absolutely mental.
Yeah. So Toni Collette is one of my favorite actors, and she gives the performance of her lifetime on this. The fact that she wasn't even nominated for an Oscar is just absolutely
shows the
baffling.
bias against horror films.
Yeah, that scene where they're around the dinner table and she tells him that she's his mum is just like one of the best things ever. It was my favorite film of 2019. It uses grief and family tragedy as sort of the jump off point for horror. It makes you gives you an unfamiliar feeling in somewhere where you should feel like you're most safe in a family setting. It's relentlessly kind of so many impactful scenes in it. Spoiler alert for Hereditary. So if you want to watch it and you haven't watched it, stop listening now. So from now, if a movie has a shocking bit in it, I refer to it as the Hereditary moment, because this is a scene in Hereditary that genuinely I think about on a daily basis, where the girl's head gets knocked off.
I was going to say, completely out of nowhere, did not expect Charlie to be decapitated.
Yeah, completely and then there's that happens, and then for the next 10 minutes of that, it's just such an anxiety-inducing, horrific bit, and it's probably the best horror that I've seen in film for the past few years.
And it uses that moment so well. I mean, I think my favorite part of the movie is the rant that Annie has towards Peter about it.
Yeah, where she's
oh, don't you swear at me, you little bitch.
Yeah. She's so good.
Yeah, it's like I know it was an accident. I know you didn't mean it. I know you miss your sister, but you will not apologize for it, and you will not feel bad about it. So what am I supposed to do? It's that's just exactly what you'd expect in this situation. It's such a realistic portrayal of a grief-stricken family, and then it turns into supernatural horror, and it works.
Honestly, I thought this was gonna. When I watched the trailers, I thought it was gonna be really generic, but this hits different. Like you said, the death of Charlie is just so crazy in terms of what the manner of death and the outburst to it, and you can't look at piano the same way again, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think just A24 are just bloody fantastic.
Yeah, I was
I
going
mean,
to say,
this,
because we've talked
Midsummer,
going,
The
yeah,
Lighthouse,
Midsummer. Yeah.
Uncut Gems. What a streak.
Yeah, and we were saying before how sort of horror might have, but horror's definitely coming back with people like Ari Aster who did this and did Midsummer, Robert Eggers who did The Lighthouse and The Witch, and then Jennifer Kent who did The Babadook and The Nightingale. They're two like three horror directors that are just solely working in horror, and they're absolute like A game. But you come back to Hereditary, it's got so many moments that are just so shocking. There's like the bit where she says that she tried to have a miscarriage with him. There's the bit where she throws the book in the fire and it sets the dad on fire. Where she cuts her own head off. It's just brilliant. I love the fact that it's like they were always destined for this path. Like there was nothing they could have done. It was always going to happen to them. It is. I'll stop just going on.
And an actual spooky name.
Actual spooky name
instead of Pazuzu.
No, yeah.
I think you put it best yourself. I think I'm really happy right now to be a horror fan because I think it is. Let's be honest, the 2000s and 2010s, we've been hit hard as horror fans. It has just been relatively poor, and I am glad to see such a resurgence right now. But yeah, it's a great film. It is a cracking, absolutely bloody terrifying film.
Yeah. You watched it, Richard?
I've not, and I've kind of been in and out of muting you guys because when Jacob said something about there being like, big deals and not to avoid spoilers, I have avoided spoilers just so I can.
We won't ruin it for you, Richard, because honestly, it'll blow your little mind.
Were you gonna say it was gonna blow your socks off?
It'll do that as well.
Shall we vote?
Yeah. Jacob, how are you looking?
Gruesomely brilliant.
Yeah,
wow.
There's nowhere else it's going, is there?
Yeah. I think it's a bit horrible that you put two gruesomely brilliant films below.
He's a special guest.
I'm a special guest.
He's allowed. Right, Collins, let's talk about your final one.
All right. We talk a lot about what are the Catwomans of other topics after what we talked about with Catwoman on our first ever episode. This is the worst horror film I've ever watched. It is one of the worst films I've ever watched. It's a sequel that's got absolutely nothing to do with the first two. So if you want to talk about sequels just going on for too long in a horror movie franchise, at least Friday the 13th 9 still has Jason as the actual main character, and Nightmare still has Freddy as the main character. We're going to talk about I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. This is bad. This is very, very, very bad. So we've got a brand new cast of characters, of which not a single one of them is likable. Repeating the exact same story as the first one, with one of their friends dying in a prank gone wrong, where the mattress got moved, but no one wanted to admit it. I don't understand how they would have got in trouble. Why would they have got in trouble if they told people so he was meant to land on that mattress?
I mean, this is this is the American judicial system. We don't know what will happen.
Speaking of I like the way that they detrust the American judicial system that much that they think, oh no, we can't possibly just go to the police because the town will just kill us because of what we've done. Yeah. It's honestly of the ones that we suggested that they hadn't seen. So that was the Nightmare on Elm Street one, the Friday the 13th one, and then this one. This one was the one I was watching it, and I was genuinely annoyed at you, Collins.
I'm so happy because I messaged you what my choices were, and you went, "Oh, I've just noticed you chose the sequel to." I didn't know there was a sequel.
And then you went.
And I went to you.
The sequel's
bad. Yeah, the sequel's bad, but I've chose the third one, which is even worse.
Yeah, but somehow a Jack Black weed stereotype is better than this.
But with I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, they do the exact same film. Death that they try and that's a secret they're going to keep to their grave. They get the main woman gets a letter that says, "I know what you did last summer." Yada yada yada. We've now got a mystery. They even have the jock guy go off into like an attic somewhere by himself, like they do in the first one. as he gets he gets attacked. Except this time he survives and lasts a little longer in the film.
Right.
They
Okay.
set up a-
So they're not like supernatural, are they? So, you know where he like looks, he's like the lifeguard, and then he looks down, and there's like the water imprint of where it says like, "I know what you did last summer."
Yeah.
How have they done that?
How's he done that? How's that happened?
He's done it well. Fair play to him.
And then the reveal happens of who the killer is.
And it's bad.
And in the first film, it made sense. It was Ben Willis. It was explained well. It led to it as a natural conclusion of the film. In the second film, it was Ben Willis, but it was also Ben Willis's son. Now that's bad,
bit annoying,
but it
you
still
never saw a
makes
body.
sense because the main character is still the same main character as the first one, so you can go with the revenge aspect. With the third film, they set it up quite nicely for it to be one of the police officers who just ended up knowing about it.
Yep.
Instead, they go for the most infuriating reveal in movie history. Zombie Ben Willis.
So what does this
When's
mean?
the criterion of this coming up?
Is Ben Willis the zombie equivalent of, have you been injured in an accident? Call insurance for you. I will kill everyone.
Yeah. Have you too fallen foul to being impaled on a tractor due to a skateboard prank gone wrong?
I want Ben Willis as an insurance lawyer.
Well, it makes no sense. He doesn't know who these are. They're not even in the original town.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah, they're not in the original, because it's not in the original town.
There's no one that he knows. What was he? Was he at the festival and saw it and thought, "Oh, I'm gonna get these kids, but I've got a gimmick, so I've got to wait a year."
Hang on. Was there any? I'm trying to remember the film because it like most of these films, I
want to do that, mate. That's not worth it.
I was pretty hammered watching it. Did they all mention Ben Willis beforehand?
No. Oh no,
No.
hang on. They did say that there was they did say that there was previous incidences of in the old town where the first one was set about some people who were getting the notes.
Hooked to death.
Fair enough. They gave one breadcrumb that might have led you to think that it was going to be zombie Ben Willis. But they also only mentioned it in briefing once, and I thought it was just to make it go like, yeah, guys, this is actually a sequel.
Yeah. Also, all the characters are bad, and it's shot really badly as well. So,
It's shot in that really gross-looking early 2000s way.
Yeah, like
where
shit.
it's grey, colourful.
Yeah, horrible, grim. It's so bad that not even Paddy would be scared by this.
Well, here's the thing. Did you know that on IMDb it's got over 10,000 ratings and 5.6% of the people rated it as a 10?
Well, those
Oh, right. So
5.6%
of the people worked on the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What percentage has it got, Ben? What's its what number is it out of 10?
Oh, it's 3.5 out of 10 overall.
That's generous.
What did the Exorcist 2 get? I think it was that way.
Hang on, you'll have to. I think it might have been worse, you know. No, it was 3.8 out of 10.
Ah, that's okay. Because I enjoyed the Exorcist 2 more than this. This one was just annoying.
I kind of.
The Exorcist 2 at least has the funny moments of you thinking, why do they have superpowers now?
Yeah, you're thinking this is just insane, whereas this is just crap.
Painful.
I kind of want to put it on boring due to the thing I've given myself that Ben Willis is an insurance lawyer now.
An interesting fan theory.
Oh, yeah, it's on Rotten Tomatoes from critics. It's got 0%.
Oh my god!
There's only 6 ratings from critics, but but none of them have given it like above any kind of good. Yeah,
right.
And
I don't think
zero
is fair. I don't think zero is fair because that's like that's just stupid.
Yeah.
That'd be like
the audience score is 21%.
Jason Goes to Manhattan at least got 12.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
Zero would be like if they didn't even like I assume someone tried when they were making it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the
Yeah.
average rating of those critics is 2.5 out of 10, but I think
that's
there's
fine.
like a certain rating where it gives like a percentage of something, but yeah.
Right, let's
Alright,
move,
so yeah,
let's move on.
not even Paddy would be scared by this.
Not even Paddy will be scared by this.
So,
Right,
Right.
Ritson, your last one.
all right. From a terrible film to The Happening. Let's
What's
talk
the
about The
difference?
Happening.
Excellent.
Yeah. The Happening's an all-time classic, isn't it? I mean,
I have one word of note for this. I'm talking to a fake plant.
oh, what a scene! That's
Oh, it's so good.
it's just it's film at its best. I mean, right. Let's talk about that scene in Central Park where everyone stops bar the one girl, and then it's never explained why she's the one who's somehow immune to it at that time for some reason. Everyone else, the hundreds of people, stop. Her friend sitting next to her stops, but she's just looking around. I don't get that at all. Although I'm gonna get onto this in a little bit. There's a theory that's actually really interesting that might actually make the film seem a lot better than it is initially.
Oh, exciting.
Nothing can do that.
So it's
Look,
it's M Night Shyamalan who's
It is.
not been very good recently, but he's a decent director. Like The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable are really good. And I don't know what was going through his head when he made this. Like
Lots of drugs.
like Mark Wahlberg and Zoe Deschanel, they're not brilliant, but they're like fine actors. I don't know why then in this they are just the worst thing I've ever seen.
Deschanel's performance is the most annoyed I've been. Apart
It's
from
like-
I'll always know what you did last summer.
Yeah, what's bad?
Just when you thought there was not more evil that could have been invented.
You know what I thought was so. You know what the worst thing about it is? I forgot Mark Wahlberg was in it. He's the main character.
the main
I
character.
I literally thought it was Matt Damon until I got back to it.
It's just like bafflingly bad. Like it's another like with Bird Box. You know, I'm not a huge fan of big suicide films, so this is just ridiculous. Only this time it's even worse because it's the wind.
It's the plant.
It's the plant.
I was gonna say it's basically just it's a worse version of Bird Box, which is a bad film.
But I think I enjoyed this more than Bird Box.
You know, I'll give you. There's probably more of a Batman and Robin element to this compared to Bird Box, where it's so bad that it's funny just how bad the performances are.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I haven't got Arnold Schwarzenegger banging down my door saying puns. Sorry.
There's such a good cast of characters in The Happening. You've got the hot dog guy. You've got the old woman in the house. You've got the kid that gets shot. He's from the Cat in the Hat. He's the kid from the Cat in the Hat getting shot with a shotgun. That's fun. What more do you want?
I will say, the old woman actually has a pretty cool death where she gets infected. So, but she kills herself in a way to like help out the wind. Get Mark Wahlberg and the other two as well.
Help
she
out the wind.
smashes herself into a window. That's actually quite a cool death.
It's
I can't believe I've just praised The Happening.
There's the bit where there's the guy he's getting like making himself get eaten by lions, and everyone's just like watching it on the phone.
I mean,
I forgot about that. Isn't the start of the film like a news report that just shows people committing suicide?
Yeah, it just shows this guy just on the news, just getting eaten by lions.
That's all the trailer was, wasn't it? They never actually showed any of the film. They just showed the suicides.
Yeah.
So people went into this film thinking, "Wow, what's this film actually going to be about? It looks really interesting." And then Mark Wahlberg walked in.
And then Mark Wahlberg goes, "What? No."
Oh my god, that's what I was going to say about the acting and the ones that are you plotting to kill me.
Plotting to kill
what?
me.
What? No.
No.
Well, okay. Should I go into? All right. There's a theory I saw on YouTube.
Go on. I want to know the theory.
Okay. So have you guys seen the film Signs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's aliens. They target a small population with this biochemical weapon that they have to spray into like the person's mouth or nose, right?
Yeah.
So the theory goes that because it's now 10 years later in time or whatever, that the aliens have advanced their weaponry, and this is backed up by the fact that opening and closing shots of the film are, ominous views into the clouds. Like something's going on up there. The theory basically states that those aliens from Signs have actually developed this biochemical weapon to drop into the atmosphere of Earth in big populations and infect everyone. But what triggers the infection is fear. It's the chemical in the human body of fear. And when that happens...
This is ridiculous, Ritson. I'm just telling you now.
That's when people start, freaking out and then, killing themselves. And yeah, that's the thing. And then the guy also said that, what's the film that M. Night Shyamalan also made with Will and Jaden Smith? What's it called?
After Earth.
Yeah.
The film that was so bad that Will Smith just blamed everything on his son.
He is bad.
He says that that's the sequel, and it's actually a secret trilogy.
What you're doing there is Signs is actually all right, and you're just sort of ruining that. Signs is good.
Sorry. Signs is a movie where aliens.
Oh, you're gonna say the water. You're gonna say the water thing, aren't you? Why would they invade the planet with the water? Just have a bit of fun. It's a fun.
Right. All right. Fair enough. My second point: the man's wife prays to his son to make sure that he hits an alien with a baseball bat.
I like Signs. Signs is a guilty pleasure of mine.
I understand guilty pleasures.
But this, on the other hand, this is not.
Well, hang on. The theory also says that the whole fear thing and that being backed up is the girl on the bench who's the first affected in Central Park, right? She's reading a horror comic or book, and that's why she's the first, because she's reading something that could be scary or induce fear. And then apparently before all these group suicides and chaos, right? There's always a scream beforehand. And then obviously if you hear a scream, you might get a bit scared and all the rest of it.
Okay, I am gonna stop you now.
No. There's one more thing. I can't remember exactly, but isn't there in the happening there's something to do with a mood ring or something?
Yeah, the girls got the mood ring, isn't it?
Exactly.
I'm simply gonna say this though, Ritson. Mark Wahlberg is terrified the entire film.
No, he's not.
Written. Can I ask you something? And don't take this the wrong way. Did you create that theory?
Is that your theory, Written?
Is that what you have made?
No. There's no way I would have made that theory myself unless I.
Oh my god! I just remembered. There's the numbers. There's the numbers guy, the Mark Wahlberg's mate, the numbers guy.
Let's just.
And then he dies in the car crash. It's ridiculous. What a stupid film.
Isn't the numbers guy actually the mother and father of the child who they just for some reason abandoned their child?
Oh yeah, they're just see you later.
Leave their kids.
Yeah, we'll be all right. And then he's like, "Do you like?"
Fairness, the right idea.
Do you like numbers?
They die. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, awful.
Yeah. Not even Paddy would be scared by this.
Not even Paddy would be scared.
Not an all-time classic, no.
No, weirdly not. All right, man, gonna take us home.
Right. In the words of "You'll Never Walk Alone," at the end of a storm, there's a golden sky.
Right, I'm off.
And after some absolute dross, we're actually finishing on a bit of a good note. I'm going to talk about the final film of this is going to be Wreck. The Spanish found footage horror film made before Cloverfield. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was pretty good. I think it was terrifying. The idea of some sort of rabies-like symptoms created them into zombies. Another zombie one. The idea that this is such a big deal that they've literally been quarantined. Sound familiar, anyone? But like they are literally like boarded up inside as they just get picked off one by one. I think I do like foreign horror films because I think they add something different to just the basic American horrors, and I think like this was redone as an American version. It was nowhere near as good. It's probably lower down on the list, but I really enjoyed this film. Yeah,
Yeah, it is. It's probably my favorite found footage. Probably my favorite found footage film. It's just so like relentless, and like all the jump scares work like really well. The camera works like properly good. Also, like the thing where the American one doesn't work as well, it just doesn't feel as like real. Because in this, they got like real firemen. There's like real like policemen. There's people who like haven't done acting before, and it sort of all adds to that sort of realism level. You feel as like this is like an actual sort of apartment building. I like that you were saying. I love the bit where you sort of find out sort of kind of what's causing the infection. I like the last few scenes where they're in that building in the roof, and there's like all the sort of religious imagery and the sort of science imagery. And I also like how that's never sort of like fully explained as to what's causing it, but just like little snippets as to what might be causing it. I just think this is great. Also, Paco Plaza's another one of those directors that we should add to the list of are doing good work at the moment. He did that Veronica, that was like that Netflix film that was brilliant.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I love this film a lot.
yeah. You two, any?
I've got written down. I couldn't get into the film because I'm an asshole who was drawn out by it being in Spanish.
Oh,
And I say that as a fan of anime. I will say it was shot well. That's about all I can give you. I did like the kills as well.
well, why not just say Brexit means Brexit?
I know
Colin?
Brexit means Adam Collins. Brexit means Brexit. No Spanish nonsense on my television.
He's going to be taking over Tommy Robinson's role now that he's out of the country. Collins will be taking that up. He'll be there. All those protests he'll be causing.
So I'll back out of this debate.
You better, lad.
Yeah, as I said, it's one of those films where jump scares I think really work well. There's so many good ones in it. There's the one where like the guy just falls from like the balcony and just smacks into the thing.
And you kind of realise when the dog was kind of patient zero in terms of like the.
Oh yeah, and then it turns to like the girl, and the mum's like, "Oh no, she's just got tonsillitis," and then she vomits blood all over it. Oh, it is great.
Yeah, I think it's horrifying. I think it's certainly horrifying.
I would agree with you, Mangan, that it is horrifying.
Again, I think found footage films are a bit hit and miss. Like they're not my favourite themselves, but this certainly makes the most of it.
All right,
It certainly does.
Yeah, well, we win. Okay, right. This has been a great show. This, Jacob, we have loved having you on.
Thanks very much.
Is
I've enjoyed being on. Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to promote?
Yes. So if you're in for any sort of indie rock music, I advise you to check the Vedetts out on Facebook or on YouTube. That'd be great.
That's fantastic. So remember, guys, we have the tier list on Twitter and Instagram at the Tier List Podcast. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and our great sponsors, Anchor. But from all of us, from me, Collins.
Right, guys, I want to do part 2 already. I'm going to talk about the Wrong Turn franchise next time we do this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because they're properly gory, aren't they? I'd quite like to watch them.
Yeah, from Ritson.
I need to watch more horror films if we're going to do a part 2, that's for sure.
From Jacob.
I'd love to do a part 2 because I could talk about horror films for.
And from myself, this has been the tier list, and we'll see you later.